Is the awesome Evan Carmichael.
Yep.
Evan, welcome to the show, my friend.
Cool. Thanks for the love, man. I love your backdrop. What city is that?
This is Cleveland. So we're in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay, cool. I was in Cleveland. That was my last stop. That was the last stop on my tour? Yeah, when I did, so last year I did 23 cities, 90 days, and 2/3 of the way through, I broke my neck in 2 spots. And my agent and my team, they wanted me to go home. I'm like, no, this is part of my healing. And so my last stop was Cleveland. And I did the presentation, sitting at the front, broken neck, got pillows on me and like ice packs. And I remember once we finished that, I just lay on the floor and collapsed for, at least half an hour, just totally exhausted, like gave everything I had. So Cleveland, I even have this book here. So we made this book called Make the 2% Happen, which is a journal for people. And it says Believe Tour, and then it says Cleveland 04, 09, 19. It might be hard to see on the camera, but we gave this to everybody who came to the last event because it was our last event on the tour. So warm spot in my heart, even though it's probably cold right now in Cleveland, but warm spot in my heart for everybody from Cleveland.
You're a warrior. You made it through that setting there. And we would have loved to have you back in. I know travel restrictions now and everything else, but built to serve, man. I mean, very exciting stuff. Before I dive into it, I wanted to kind of just give a brief background on you to the listeners. I guess if you and I were buddies in high school, we were in class together and we were sitting next to each other. Who was Evan back then? Like, what was it like? Who were you? What was the character? What was the personality like?
In university, so let me go back. Super introverted, not a ton of friends, very shy, didn't talk to anybody. Running my company, depends on when I meet you, but running my business part-time while still in school. Trying to decide, do I want to be an entrepreneur and do this full-time, or do I want to be an investment banker and make 6 figures out of the gate and kind of travel around the world? Didn't really join any clubs. Is basically schoolwork, get it done, and then go work on my business pretty much every day. That was Evan Carmichael in university, dude.
There we go. Now, you did want to be a VP at a bank growing up. Did you have like a role model that was a VP? Was there a role model there that inspired?
He's done his homework, guys. He's done his homework. Jad's been reading.
Always.
I like it. Yeah. So in my yearbook in high school, where they ask you like, where are you going to be in 10 years? I said VP at a bank. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I think a lot of people who kind of graduate high school, high school doesn't really give you the tools to know what you want to do. They give you tools like math and science and English, but not like life planning skills, which is interesting. So entrepreneurship wasn't a thing. I'm 40 now, right? So this is 20. When did I graduate high school? 18, 22 years ago. Nobody wanted to be an entrepreneur. I mean, my friends didn't want to be entrepreneurs. It was not just part of the culture. It's great now. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to have a show and a pod. It's great. I love it, dude. But you kind of had to be crazy to be an entrepreneur. You had to basically not be employable. Like you can't get a job anywhere else, or your only option is to start a business. You had to be kind of crazy. So
that was kind of like a last resort back then.
Yeah, like super last resort. And I sound like I'm an old man, but I still got tons of runway ahead of me. But that was the culture, and I liked money. I liked making money. I liked being the banker in Monopoly. I liked hustling my baseball cards and I just stock markets. I just liked trying to find ways to make money. And so I asked my parents, well, who makes money? And they said bankers. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be a banker. So where am I going to be in 10 years? I don't know. VP at a bank. That just kind of just made sense. So yeah, not a ton of thought or deep diving into self-awareness when I was 18 years old.
Well, I was very similar growing up. So we probably would have been good friends back in high school and college days. You mentioned you were introverted. I heard somewhere you were nervous on stage. Funny enough, I had my team. I asked one of my team members here to do a little bit of research yesterday and say, hey, just make sure there's nothing that we're missing that would be interesting to put in to talk about. And I go to my teammate and I go, hey, so what do you think of anything new on Evan that I don't know? And the first thing that comes out of his mouth is like, well, he's obviously very smart. And so I chuckled there, but then it kind of right away, it brought a thought into my mind, which was kind of with entrepreneurship specifically, how much does quote unquote smarts play a role, or how much is it a factor of hard work, or maybe a mix of the two? Where does smarts or where does hard work play a factor in whether it's building a business, being successful online as an influencer, or whatever it may be?
I think intellectual ability has very little to do with success as an entrepreneur. I think if you're saying working smart versus working hard, that might be something a little bit different. But if having a high IQ was the thing that made the difference, then every university professor would be super rich. And they're not. And most of them suck at being entrepreneurs. And so IQ, I think IQ maps very poorly actually to entrepreneurship. When I was in the VC business, we were raising $500,000 to $15 million for companies. If somebody gave us their business plan and you flip to the team part of it and they had a PhD on their name, that would count as a strike against them. Like, ooh, their PhD. Yeah. Ooh. Like no street smarts.
That's a big statement. Yeah.
Like it's a strike against them. It's against them. Where in the typical world where you're hiring people like, oh, I got PhDs on my team, you think they're super smart. But in the entrepreneur world, and I didn't set this rule. I was 22 years old. I was just kind of following the model. That's what VCs were saying, right? These guys who are in their 60s or 70s and built giant companies and invested in tons of companies. You had a PhD, it was a strike against you. So there's very little. If there is a correlation, it might be a negative one for PhDs or super smart people becoming successful entrepreneurs. Working hard is a prerequisite for anything in life that you want to get. Working hard is your ticket into the game. It doesn't guarantee you're going to get a home run. It doesn't guarantee you're going to win, but you don't win without working hard, period. There's lots of people who work hard and never win. There's lots of people who, I think of people in my family who have jobs, who work crazy hard at their jobs and don't get, paid super, super well for it. So you can work really hard and never go off and achieve your goals. But just working smart isn't enough. I think what smart people do is often find really smart reasons why they can't win. Like, I can't win because of this.
Too much knowledge, and you start to overthink, and you're kind of crippled from actually taking action because you know so much and you've learned so much throughout your college years, and so you start to overthink and overplan. And then you mentioned you have your 2% rule, which is just take action on the first with 2%.
Yeah, dude. Look, it's the Cleveland book. Make the 2% happen with Cleveland right there. Make the 2% happen.
So you know all this data and this information, but let's just jump right in and get started. And so planning and thinking and all this knowledge doesn't serve you until you actually start to take some action on it. I guess with as far as working hard, is there a balance? How do you kind of strike a balance between being fulfilled, but also working hard and growing? So wanting to grow and that desire to develop and grow and get to the next level sometimes carries you away from your day to day. You forget to even reflect on like, hey, I need to realize and accept and appreciate what's around me. So how do you kind of strike a balance between drive for growth as well as fulfillment on the other side?
It's an interesting choice of words because I would equate a lot of my fulfillment comes from the growth that I'm getting. A lot of my fulfillment comes from like talking to you and making this show and talking about Cleveland and sharing stories and trying to help other entrepreneurs. Like that's deeply fulfilling for me. This isn't work for me. This is like the second I look at my calendar, it's like, oh man, really? I got to talk to Jad. Come on. Like if that's my mindset, I'm out. Like I'm not doing those things anymore. This is deeply fulfilling for me. Balance, I think, is a very personal question and will adjust throughout time for every human. So what your version of balance looks like is going to be different than mine, than The Rock, than somebody else. When you hear The Rock talk about his calendar, he needs to work out for 5 hours a day or something crazy. And so when he's on set, he has to wake up 5 hours early to go work out. And then he'll go and do his movie. And I think that's crazy. That's not balance for me. But if you hear him talk about being in the gym, it's his Zen zone. It's his he needs it. That's part of balance for him, right? So I'd rather be sleeping. I'd be sleeping in my trailer. I would not be working out 5 hours, a day. But I don't look like The Rock,
Yeah.
you know, when you get the results. So you have to figure out what balance looks like for you. I think there are definitely moments where you can lean in on gratitude and what you've got, but also want more and strive to go and get more. I think for the most part, though, people need to be harder on themselves. Like I'd say 95% of the time, you need to be harder on yourself. And 5% of the time, you have to be more gentle on yourself. Like when you feel like you can't go anymore, when you've actually, like I did my tour with a broken neck. Like the second half or the last third of my tour was with a broken neck. And it wasn't, when I showed up to Cleveland, I wasn't as good a presenter as I was before I broke my neck, right? I had to just sit at the front of the room and I couldn't move for 4 hours while I'm trying to help people who are in the room. But I'm really proud of the effort that I put in, right?
Absolutely.
And so all that really matters is, are you proud of you? If I had to skip Cleveland, like if I was in so much pain and I just skipped Cleveland, everybody would have understood. Everybody would have said, hey, it's okay. Like, dude, you broke your neck. Don't worry about it. And if I was proud of that, then fine. I would do it because I had hit my max. But I felt like I had a little bit more, just a little bit more. Let's show up for Cleveland. Let's make it happen. Come on. We got one more stop. Man. We got to, like, don't skip them over because I'm in Toronto. So we're pretty close.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, don't skip Cleveland. Just let's go. Let's do one more. And like, we'll hit Toronto after.
There you go.
Yeah. And I'm proud of that. So all that really matters is, are you proud of you? You know, not what other people say, but when you look at yourself in the mirror, are you proud of what you put in today? And if that means you need to lean on gratitude one day and the next day you have to lean more into working harder for your goals, that's the inside game that everybody needs to play. But in general, I think you need to be much harder on yourself because you're capable of more, and you need to push that. Just move the brake line. Sure. Like wherever you would normally give yourself a break, just move it a little bit. Don't like get all the way out here. It's just move it a little bit.
Just an inch.
Just move it. Just move the brake line forward just a little bit.
1% better every day, inching forward.
And that's when you start to you pat yourself on the back. That's when you actually start to build self-respect, self-love, self-belief, self-confidence from doing the thing that you didn't think was possible yesterday.
That's the perfect segue into kind of where I was going with this. Kind of building that belief in yourself. You're on a mission to kind of solve that problem, right? It's one of the world's biggest problems in your view. People not believing in themselves enough. I guess I agree 100%, and I feel as if it's through overcoming certain challenges, like showing up to Cleveland with an injury and still pushing through and persevering and having a great event regardless, right? And you feel great about it. I guess, where do you think the problem of having that low self-esteem come from? Is it like in early childhood days when you're growing up, and is it like not enough push and encouragement? Is it simply, the social media have an effect when we're comparing? Like where's that issue coming from specifically?
Yeah. So, when you were born, you didn't come out thinking, man, I suck. It's like, that's not the first thought that comes out.
That wasn't my thought.
That wasn't your thought, but it's nobody's thought. Like nobody comes out and says, I suck as a human. You didn't care what other people thought about you. You're like pooping all over the place. So you were trained, right? So those negative self thoughts that you have, and not just you, Jad, but everybody has, were given to you. Other people put them in. That's not your voice talking. That's somebody else's voice talking to you. So that's already the first step, is to piece that out. Like you think it's you telling, that's not actually your voice. We need to kick that voice out because that's your mom's voice or your grandfather's voice or your teacher's voice, somebody else's voice telling you that you suck because you weren't born thinking you suck. So the next step is, okay, I need to start to eliminate some of these people who are bringing me down, who I feel worse about myself after. And it's just use this as a test. After I spend time with this person, do I feel better or worse about myself? You're leaving them, you had a call, you had a lunch, whatever. Like, do I feel better about myself or worse about myself? Like, I love Jad's energy. I'm doing interviews all day. And my next interview, I'm taking a little piece of Jad with me. Like he's giving me a little boost to take to the next call I'm doing, right? That's a good thing. So, maybe your mom is a negative or your best friend from high school is a negative. And so it's just auditing that and supplementing with things that make you feel better. And that could be people in your life, but it could also be online resources, right? Like how many episodes of this show do you have, Jad?
This is number 3.
Great. And how often are you going to make content ongoing?
I'd love to get to your level of 3 videos a day. We're looking to do a video minimum every single week.
Great.
And then we're looking to just keep ramping up.
So if you like Jad and his content, you got 2 other episodes to go back and listen to. And now you got 1 a week coming up, right? And so find other people like Jad. If it's my content, if it's Gary, if it's Mel, if it's Grant, like whoever the person who makes, again, I feel better about myself after I've watched this video, then have more of that in your life. And it will, and what's going to happen is if you listen to Jad every week, like you got Jad in your ear, what's going to happen is you're going to start to think a little bit more like Jad. You're going to start to see the world a little bit more like Jad. You're going to have the mindset a little bit more like Jad. And then he'll pull you up. He's like sprinkling little Jad pixie dust on you every week with his new episode. And you start to act and think and feel a little bit more like Jad. And that's what you want. Because right now you're acting, thinking, and feeling like the people who put all those negative thoughts in your head. And if Jad starts coming on the air and says, hey, you suck, don't believe in yourself, I hate you, great, then don't listen to Jad anymore and go find somebody else, right? I mean,
I won't listen to Jad anymore.
And you move on to something else. But like, that's the whole point. And whether you like me or not, there's lots of people creating content that now you can be around every day to start to lift you up. So step 1 is recognize that voice isn't yours. Step 2 is eliminate the negative voices around you and supplement it with positive voices, even if it's just aspirational from YouTube videos or books or podcasts. And then step 3 is showing yourself that you do difficult things. So you can get belief by having Jad say that I believe in you, and it gives you a little more encouragement, but you still have to do the thing, right? You want to work out. You can't just read about doing squats. You have to do the squats to get the result. You can't just read about how to sell. You have to sell to get the results, right? So you got to actually do the work. And when it's difficult, that's when the self-love and self-confidence and self-pride comes in. So in that process, you start to gain more self-belief by doing the difficult things.
I love it. Yeah, I see it as this kind of like roadmap or this wheel where you're kind of excited, and then when you take action, you accomplish something, you feel better, and then you're even more excited. You take more action, you feel even better, and it just becomes kind of like a snowball effect of growth and development once you start taking action. So we talk about it all the time here, which is kind of like, hey, just get started. You're gonna make mistakes, of course, but taking action is gonna make you feel a lot better about yourself than hesitating and holding yourself back and not letting yourself experience whatever that is that you should be or that you aspire to do. I want to go to the book briefly. I love these kind of full pagers that you have in here. One of my favorites is the Chinese proverb. I got it right up. It's if you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. And if you want happiness for a lifetime, help somebody. And so it's part of us creating this content and you enjoying what you're doing, which is helping entrepreneurs. It's people, whatever they excel at and whatever they really enjoy, they get a kick out of it, and they're helping and serving through that channel. I guess, where can somebody who's kind of uncertain about the future? I love the fact that through the book and just through all of the content, the positivity, you give people hope, and that's huge. Where can people get started in finding out, like, hey, what is my purpose? What is my why? And then more importantly, like, who should I go after? Whom should be the person I serve? I mean, I think everybody finds great fulfillment in serving. And so how do we help them kind of get started in at least recognizing maybe a passion of theirs that they haven't uncovered, they haven't asked the right questions to themselves, and then to start to actually take action and serve and get that fulfillment through serving, really?
Yeah, I mean, so the book will help. There's a lot of exercise in there. It's pretty cheap to pick it up, affordable. We go through a process: who, why, how. The why is your process, is your purpose. So, your why is your purpose. Your purpose comes from your pain. Whatever you struggled the most with as a human is what you want to help other people with for the rest of your life. If you think about the most painful moment in your life, not physical pain like me breaking my neck and being in Cleveland, that was a lot of physical pain, but emotional pain. When did you feel like worthless as a human being? Understand that there are millions of people right now who are feeling that exact pain that you struggled with and suffered through. Your purpose is to help them not struggle or suffer as much. So the content I make on my channel is still for 19-year-old Evan. And if you're making content, think about who Jad was 5 years ago. To say, hey, I'm going to launch a show and I'm going to interview some of my heroes and I'm going to bring them on. Like that would be an impossible thought. Like there's no way I'm going to do that. But here you are.
I grew up on content of yours and podcasts and online motivational videos. And I still remember, when I first started, it was my first business at the time. And I was like, everything was going wrong. All I can remember playing in my head was the positivity and the keep going and the motivation. And so I 100% agree. You kind of have to be keeping in touch there, but kind of.
But no, but listen, it's okay. So you're watching the videos. That's different than, hey, I'm watching the Evan Carmichael video versus I'm going to interview Evan Carmichael on my channel.
Sure.
Right? That would have never come up. Like that's an impossible thought. But you're here. Like to the Jad that you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago, that's impossible. And you're here. So you've done the impossible. Right? But that's an inspiration. You can go back. Like if you're going to go talk to Jad from 5 years ago, and you're going to tell him, dude, you're going to do all these things. It's crazy. You know what you're going to be doing in 5 years? You're going to be having this show. You're going to launch this weekly episode. You're going to be interviewing some of the people you watch on these channels. You're going to be talking to them. You're going to be getting their advice and coaching from them. You're going to be doing that, dude. Let's go. Like, right? So there's lots of people who are Jad from 5 years ago, and they need your help. And they may not even listen to an Evan Carmichael, but they'll listen to you. Because you've been through the pain that they are currently going through.
I know we're coming up on time here. Anything for 25-year-old Evan? Anything we want to talk about in the book? Where can people find it? And then kind of some final notes there on your side, on your end. Anything for the listeners?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to pick up the book, you can get it on Amazon. If you want a signed copy with a bunch of bonuses, you can get it off my website, evancarmichael.com. The question for 25-year-old Evan, I used to hate this question because I can't go talk to 25-year-old Evan. Like I can't do it. So I spend zero time.
I'm 25 today. Give me some feedback on that.
Well, here's the thing. Like, what's your most important? Did you go through the who, why, how exercise?
Yes.
What's your who? What's your most important core value?
So mainly integrity.
Okay, integrity. So if you were going to go back to 19-year-old Jad, the message needs to be integrity. What you would tell him is have more integrity. And that plays out in a bunch of different ways for Jad's 18-year-old life. And that's great. The message to your younger self is your most important core value. Like if Jad at 18 had more integrity, you'd be living a different life right now. But it's not that helpful because you can't go back to talk to 18-year-old Jad. But here's where it becomes super practical and why I end up loving this question. 80-year-old Jad coming to 25-year-old Jad, the message is still integrity. Like the thing that you still need the most is integrity. The thing that's preventing you from the next level is still integrity. More integrity is what more belief is what I'm missing. More belief to do the next thing.
Yep.
And so now it becomes highly practical to say, okay, I need to have even more integrity in these areas. People will look at you and say, well, what do you mean? You have so much integrity. You're doing everything, but it's just they have lower standards for what integrity means.
Sure.
And if you want to actually get to the next step, it's raising your own bar for what integrity looks like in your life. And if you actually applied that, you'll become an even bigger version of Jad.
I love it. Super simple, super, one word, which is essentially your who, and very simple enough to kind of get back to it. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much for tuning in. EvanCarmichael.com for the book. And Evan, thanks again for joining us. This was great.
Appreciate you, man. Good luck.
If you want to see another awesome interview I did, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.